It's winter, and it's cold and bleak, and it's been this way as long as I can remember, but Christmas never comes. The power-crazed white witch has put her icy grip on the whole world. Is there any hope? Can any force break her spell and bring spring back again? What an unusual start to a series of novels, and what an unlikely author to pen such a tale. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Life Academy and to another episode in our exploration of the great epics of modern Western literature. Today we are considering the series of 7 books known collectively as the Chronicles of Narnia by 20th century British author C.S. Lewis. I'm Pastor Doug Pratt. I'm pleased that you have visited us for this brief but illuminating journey through beloved books. I invite you, if you enjoy this and the other portions of this series, to subscribe to the Life Academy and to share it with friends. It's an interesting puzzle. How could a single man in his 50s who had never had children of his own, had no regular contact with anyone younger than college age, and had spent his entire adult life either in the very masculine and violent world of an army at war, or in the equally masculine and highly competitive scholarly hothouse of the faculty of the leading university in the world, have the creative capacity to write a series of fantasy novels that have been beloved and cherished by millions of children for several generations? Could it be genius or divine inspiration or a combination? Let's begin with the author's biography. Clive Staples Lewis was born in 1898 in a suburb of Belfast, Northern Ireland. His father was a lawyer and his mother a mathematician. Apparently, Lewis came by his substantial intellect the old-fashioned way. He inherited it. He had an older brother named Warren, who became a career military officer. Young Clive was nicknamed Jack, which was the name his friends and family called him all his life. His mother died when Lewis was 10, and his father, unable to emotionally deal with his grief and adequately care for his sons, packed Jack and Warren off to various boys' boarding schools in England for the rest of their childhoods. Though he had been a churchgoer with his family as a child, Lewis lost his faith in his teens and became a skeptical atheist or agnostic. His evident academic skills led to his admission to Oxford University. For a brief interlude, he served in the British Army in World War I, where he was wounded in the trenches, survived, and after recovery was discharged. Returning to Oxford, he earned degrees with majors in philosophy, classics, and English lit. He was invited to become an instructor at Oxford upon his graduation. Lewis began an intellectual and spiritual journey to faith in his 20s and 30s, which is described in his autobiography, Surprised by Joy. In these years, he also became involved in the weekly literary discussion group called The Inklings, along with J.R.R. Tolkien, Charles Williams, and other noted authors and scholars. This group proved to be a great cross-fertilization of ideas and books for 2 decades. After a time of growing in his faith and understanding of the Bible and Christian theology, largely self-taught, Lewis began to write and speak as an advocate of Christianity. His role as a Christian popularizer and apologist included The Problem of Pain, 1939, radio messages on the BBC beginning in 1941 that were combined and published as Mere Christianity, The Screwtape Letters, 1943, The Great Divorce and Till We Have Faces, standalone novels, the Space Trilogy, begun in 1939 and finished in 1945. The books in order, by the way, are Out of the Silent Planet, Paralandra, and That Hideous Strength. The Chronicles of Narnia were published between 1950 and 1956, 1 per year approximately. Now, Lewis was a lifelong bachelor. Many scholars speculate that he must have remembered and written the Narnia tales out of his own vivid childhood recollections and imagination. He met American divorcee Joy Davidman, who had 2 sons and had moved to Britain in 1952, and they married in 1956. She was 41, he 58. She underwent bone cancer treatments soon after they were married, then experienced remission for 2 years. And when the cancer returned, it took her life quickly. Their relationship is portrayed in the film Shadowlands, and Lewis's diary after Joy's death was published as A Grief Observed. For the final 9 years of his career, Lewis was a professor at Cambridge University, and he died in 1963 at age 65. The 7 books about the imaginary world Lewis invented that he named Narnia have sold millions of copies for over 7 decades. They have been read by generations of contemporary children and were reintroduced to children and adults by 3 recent Disney/Walden films, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Now, different publishers list the books in a different order. The discrepancy has been triggered by debates amongst Lewis scholars as to which order they should be read. The order of writing publication is as follows: 1, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe; 2, Prince Caspian; 3, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader; 4, The Silver Chair; 5, The Horse and His Boy; 6, The Magician's Nephew; and 7, The Last Battle. The chronological order in Narnia time is 1, The Magician's Nephew; 2, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe; 3, The Horse and His Boy; 4, Prince Caspian; 5, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader; 6, The Silver Chair; and 7, The Last Battle. You'll note that each chronology ends with The Last Battle, as is appropriate. I personally recommend that first-time readers use the order of publication to read the 7 books, but either order works. Let's look briefly at a synopsis of each book in the order they were written. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. This is the best known of the books and is second only to The Last Battle in its Christian symbolism and metaphors. It tells the story of 4 English school children, 2 brothers and 2 sisters, evacuated from London during the Blitz, who are magically transported to the world of Narnia through an old wardrobe in a country house where they are staying. They discover an entire land populated by talking animals, in the grip of 1,000 years of winter, and ruled by the White Witch. The witch is a tyrant who has seized Narnia from the human kings and cruelly turns her enemies and all who dare oppose her into stone statues. The arrival of the human children, known as sons of Adam and daughters of Eve, heralds the return of Aslan, the great all-powerful lion who is the true Lord of Narnia. Aslan causes spring to come, and the witch's power begins to decline. But one of the 4 children, the youngest boy Edmund, has tried to betray his siblings to the witch in return for his own glory and benefit. The witch requires the life of the traitor. But Aslan offers himself as a sacrifice to save Edmund. Following his sacrificial death, Aslan returns to life and leads the 4 children and the rest of the creatures in a climactic battle that defeats the witch and puts the English school children on 4 thrones to rule Narnia. After many decades of a golden age of peace, they magically and accidentally return to Britain, where no Earth time has elapsed, and they are again school children. The next book, Prince Caspian. The same children as in the first book return to Narnia a year later in Earth time, where time has advanced by hundreds of years in Narnia. A usurper to the throne has gained control and turned Narnia to evil, and the children and Aslan help the rightful heir, young Prince Caspian, to overthrow the coup and regain his throne. The third book, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Only the 2 youngest children return for this story, along with their cousin Eustace, for a seagoing adventure with Prince Caspian across the ocean to many unusual islands, with Aslan making his appearance again. Many consider this to be the weakest plotline of the 7 books. Then, The Silver Chair. This story takes place underground in great caverns and passages. Eustace and his friend Jill are called back to Narnia to help Caspian's son, Prince Rilian, who is captured underground. Another witch has taken control of a colony of dwarves and plans to invade Narnia, but is thwarted by Aslan. The next book, The Horse and His Boy. No Earth visitors are in this story, which is about a kidnapped prince and a kidnapped talking horse and their long journey back home to Narnia. Many scholars consider the 3 middle books, Numbers 3 through 5, as versions of the Odyssey by Homer, taking place in different environments with numerous fantastic adventures. Then comes The Magician's Nephew. This story is the prequel, telling how Narnia was created by Aslan, how the White Witch and the first human king and queen arrived there. It also tells how the old professor of the first book, when he was a boy, visited Narnia at the creation and brought back a magical fruit from the Narnia version of the Garden of Eden to Earth. And that fruit's seeds grew into a tree, which years later was made into a wardrobe that provided the entry to Narnia for the four children. The final book is The Last Battle. The final story tells how Narnia ended in seeming defeat by foreign invaders and their demonic god, and how Aslan turned that defeat into the final reward and eternal life. The conclusion of the book is the most philosophical of the seven, and the one that explores the doctrines of salvation and eternal life. The Christian message in the Chronicles of Narnia is very strong. Let me summarize it in three primary areas: the main character, the nature of the world, and the nature of the intelligent creatures in that world. First of all, the character of Aslan. Aslan is the most prominent and memorable character in the series, is the only character who appears in every story, and is the true hero of all the books, just as Christ is rightly seen to be the true hero and main character of the entire Bible. Aslan is supernatural and all-powerful, yet he is truly a physical lion, not just a spiritual being. His body is real, yet not completely bound by physical characteristics. As we'll see, he can die and feel pain, yet he is also stronger than death. These characteristics compare to Christ in every respect. Aslan's ways are not completely understood or predictable. His timetable is different than creatures expect. At times, he seems to delay for very long, then he acts quickly. He is not a tame lion or safe, but he is good. He inspires a mixture of fear, awe, and reverence, along with love, devotion, and affection in those who obey him, but he inspires pure dread and hatred in those who don't. The lion is not just a figure in secular mythology, the king of the beasts, but is also rooted in the Bible. Christ is called the Lion of Judah. The more the human characters grow in their faith and understanding, the bigger Aslan becomes in their eyes. Aslan is always portrayed as the initiator, the one who seeks and calls. Yet characters have a will and can choose to resist him and fight against him, even when he offers grace. He does not force himself on anyone. Aslan is not only the king, but also the redeemer of Narnia. In the climactic scenes in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, his sacrificial death is followed by his resurrection. The natural and supernatural nature of the universe is the second way to look at these books. They are woven together seamlessly. Both evil and good have supernatural dimensions. There is magic in the sense of things beyond the understanding of the senses. Many animals and even some plant life, such as trees, have abilities to talk, relate to others as humans do, and make moral choices. The humans who are brought to Narnia are all initially skeptical and unbelieving, as Lewis himself was, until convinced of the truth and of reality. Narnia is created perfect, but not incorruptible. Evil enters this world soon after it is created. While evil is real and an active force, it is not as powerful as ultimate good, represented by Aslan. No world is eternal. All worlds have a beginning and appointed end, except Aslan's own country. Narnia time and Earth time are not synchronized, and Aslan is outside of both. The creation of Narnia from nothing is portrayed as coming from Aslan's song, comparable to Genesis 1, when God spoke the universe into being. And then let's think about the nature of human and other intelligent life in the Chronicles of Narnia. As with all the epics, moral choices and their consequences are repeatedly spelled out. Courage, love, truth, and other Christian virtues are praised and rewarded, while vices bring ultimate disaster. Sins are exemplified with the greatest sin of all being pride. No created beings live forever. Each has an appointed time for life and an appointed time to die, but those who love and trust Aslan can live forever beyond death in his country. The final book gives remarkable descriptions of the experience of death and eternal life for a Christian, consistent with the hints in the Bible. Let's conclude now with a short summary and evaluation of the place of C.S. Lewis's fantasy series within the context of our study of the great epics of modern literature. The Chronicles of Narnia are the most juvenile in writing style of the three epics. They are the shortest books and are less rich and detailed than we find in the fiction of J.R.R. Tolkien and J.K. Rowling. Adults will notice the style as being targeted for children. Critics tend to think less of the quality of the writing than the other two. Even Tolkien criticized Lewis for borrowing from many sources, ancient and medieval, but not developing Narnia as fully as Tolkien, had developed his own imaginary world of Middle-earth. The Chronicles of Narnia are the most specifically and obviously Christian of the three epic series. They alone have as the main character an all-powerful outside creator and Lord who intervenes in affairs within the fantasy world. C.S. Lewis was also the most diverse of the three authors we're considering in this series. The fantasy epic genre was only a small portion of his legacy. His adult science fiction, his other fiction, and his apologetic books have no counterpart in the work of Tolkien or Rowling. Lewis is theologically an Orthodox Anglican Protestant and philosophically a Neoplatonist, and his political views on the issues of his day, which was mid-century Britain, were generally conservative. He has repeatedly been rediscovered and embraced by evangelical and Orthodox Christians of many denominations and traditions, and is nearly universally hailed as one of the greatest and most original of Christian thinkers in the past 2,000 years. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this brief tour of the world of the Chronicles of Narnia. I invite you to return for our final episode in the great epics of modern literature, when we will enter into the phenomenally popular wizarding world of Harry Potter. You will be surprised by what we discover there. This is Doug Pratt, speaking for the Life Academy.